Hiya, it is me, Áine, back again with another film here on Makeup and Metaphors, where we read books and we serve makeup looks. Today I had the idea of talking about some famous movies that have taken the plot of Shakespeare plays, mainly because I got a new handbag, and check it out. It is Shakespeare books, like a Shakespeare bookshelf. It even has my favourite One King Lear tucked away over here. This is from a brand called Yoshi, which again reminded me of Mario and just made me really happy. So there's loads of them online. I'll leave the link to it down below in case you want it. Not sponsored, not affiliated. Also, I really wanted to do a look with this new Carnival 3 palette by Stacie Marie and Bperfect. Just look at the glorious colours. So I used some yellows and some purples kind of over here. Next week I'll probably do some stuff over here, and I also got to use the brand new Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina Cake neon liners as well. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you want to listen to an Irish teacher living in England speak about Shakespeare and famous movies while applying a full beat of makeup, then keep on watching and I will see you in a minute. Rightio, let's dive straight into this, talking about some of the most famous movies that are actually based off Shakespeare plays. Some I think are obvious when you think about it, some slightly less obvious. Some didn't advertise, I suppose, that they took their ideas from Shakespeare, whereas others leave almost like little Easter eggs to prove that they were taking points from the plot. One of the most famous ones would be a movie that I would hope we have all seen, and if we haven't then you need to rectify that, and that is The Lion King. Now, I even saw The Lion King. I saw like the Broadway production of it in London last year, and it was amazing. So this movie is based off the plot of Hamlet. You can see a little bit of pink on my eyelids there just because I had a little bit of staining from an eye look that I was wearing earlier today. I'm going to be using the same eyeshadow actually, so it'll probably just help it blend in. Just like in Hamlet, we can see the accidental killing of the father by his brother, his power-hungry brother. In Lion King, you've got Mufasa killed by Scar in order for him to then like rise to power. Just like in Hamlet, where the prince's uncle Claudius kills the king in order for him to gain the power. Another similarity can actually be seen in the characters Timon and Pumbaa. So like the meerkat and the warthog, and they represented Hamlet's friends. Was it Rosencrantz and Guildenstern? Why does that sound like a lawyer company or a funeral director company? But similarly, like, they provide some kind of relief from the tragic plot, just like Timon and Pumbaa would. As well, there's actually an alternative ending to The Lion King, which I only found out through just doing a tiny bit of research for this video. But I think that it would have left a lot of our childhoods with a little bit of a tragic shadow over them, because it's not the Lion King that we know and love. In this version of the ending, Scar actually goes on to kill Simba as well, and he goes on to say the very famous line, "Good night, sweet prince." And I know that that's been satirized or made satire in a lot of movies, you know, like "Good night, sweet prince" when somebody dies. But I think that that would have been a little bit dark for Disney if they had included both the killing of Mufasa and Simba, basically taking out the whole bloodline of the pride. Another similarity is that both uncles in Hamlet and The Lion King convince the princes to exile themselves for their own safety, and then later on both fathers also reappear as ghosts, but they both reappear for different reasons. Whereas Mufasa reappears to like push Simba on to better things, whereas in Hamlet the father reappears to basically say like, "Avenge me!" Okay, number 2. Possibly one of my favourite movies of all time from the 90s. So The Lion King was also in the 90s. I think that was in 1994. So I would have been 2 when that was released. 10 Things I Hate About You was released in 1999. And it's iconic. It's such an iconic teen coming of age movie, but it's also based on Shakespeare, and there's so many references to Shakespeare in it. And Julia Stiles stars in it as well, and she's actually in quite a lot of Shakespeare recreations. It's obviously one of her fortes. 10 Things I Hate About You is based on the taming of the shrew. If you don't know what a shrew is, it's a type of animal, kind of looks a bit like a mouse. But a shrew is kind of a common term, at least in Elizabethan England, for like a nagging, annoying woman. And obviously the taming of it is almost like, what did the men do to make her become not nagging, to tame her? There is a lot of sexism in this play, a lot of very old ideas that have aged as well as milk. But I do find that it was modernized a lot more in 10 Things I Hate About You, like it was brought into the future slightly. But even now, we have come so much forward from 1999 that again, some of it is still kind of sexist, still misogynistic. But I think we still need to appreciate that it is a great movie, and I definitely associate it with like my teenage years. Both stories see like an ill-tempered woman slash teenager and her younger, more impressionable sister, only instead of it being based in Padua in Italy, it's based in America in a high school, like most 90s coming of age rom-coms. They've even kept the names of the characters, which I think was a really nice nod to the fact that they were being open, that the plot was kind of moved across and modernized a little bit. So we've got Katerina in 10 Things I Hate About You versus Catherine in the original, and then you've got Bianca for both, so that name wasn't changed at all. Katerina in the 90s movie, she's like kind of punk rock, rebel, doesn't want to do all of the normal things that the teenagers are doing in that time, isn't out there seeking a boyfriend like her sister is. The only difference is that in 10 Things I Hate About You, Katerina's little sister Bianca wants her to date so that then the younger sister can start dating, whereas in the Shakespearean The Taming of the Shrew, it's more to do with marriage. The little sister wants her to get married and people want her to get married. But both are very similar in that regards, like about love and relationships, and also both of them kind of pretend not to be interested in the men that they really are interested in. So they both kind of revolve around love and marriage. Money is also another kind of similarity between the two stories. So in the older story, in the Shakespearean tale, it's more to do with a dowry being the amount of money that a suitor would be paid once he had married a man's daughter. So a lot of times marriages were actually to do with the amount of wealth you would gain. So maybe your dowry could be like a farm and a house or some cattle or a few £1,000s, but that's not something that's practiced really in modern society. So instead in 10 Things I Hate About You, it's more to do with a bet or to get paid. So we see Patrick, who's played by Heath Ledger, which is a great role, is actually just paid to take Bianca out on a date so that Catherine could go out on a date as well. And it's a really typical comedy, you know, with ending in marriage and things like that. Obviously couldn't really end in marriage with 10 Things I Hate About You, seeing as they're teenagers in secondary school, but we can see that they feel more fulfilled and that they're dating, and it's kind of ended up with Katerina now falling in love. Okay, we've got an iconic one next in She's the Man. One of Amanda Bynes' amazing pieces of work. Poor Amanda Bynes and all of her troubles, but She's the Man is just iconic. Actually, it's not 90s, it's 2006. So She's the Man is based heavily upon 12th Night, and it really plays into this as well. It shows us on many occasions that it's supposed to be a modernization of 12th Night. The basic plot are similar and the names are similar too, just like in 10 Things I Hate About You, but there is a few differences. So we've got Viola, the main character, played by Amanda Bynes, and also Viola in 12th Night, but you've got her changing into her brother Sebastian, versus in 12th Night she's changing into Cesario. Again, it's been made a lot more modern, you know, based in like a high school, whereas, you know, she just wants to change into her brother to get onto the soccer team to like prove the point. Now, I haven't watched this in years, but I loved it. To prove that girls can play soccer. It's got a little bit of a Mulan vibe to it as well. So there's a good few more nods to 12th Night, apart from the fact that obviously they've kept the names similar and both very famously blur the lines of gender and have like women dressed as men and things like that, which Shakespeare was very famous for at the time. And you need to remember as well that women were not allowed to act back then. So obviously all men were actors. So if there was a woman being played in a play, that would already be a man dressed as a woman. And then if their character was then supposed to dress as a man, you had a man dressed as a woman dressed as a man. Very reminiscent of Robert Downey Jr.'s interpretation of his character in Tropic Thunder. Right, I feel like I sped through that makeup because I want to get to this. This brand new Carnival palette from Bperfect and Stacie Marie. It just looks amazing. So I'm going to do a yellow and purple eye, and then I'm going to use the new Anastasia Beverly Hills cake liner for my flick. There's another nod to the play. So after Viola disguises herself as her brother Sebastian and she's walking through campus for the first time, she actually stops at a bulletin board in the school for a production that the school is putting on for a play that they're showing. And the play is called What You Will, which is just another name for 12th Night. I thought it was going to be another name for As You Like It, like What You Will As You Like It, but no, it's another name for 12th Night. Another nod to it is that the pizza parlor that the teenagers hang out in She's the Man is called Cesario's, which is the name of the man that Viola dresses up as in 12th Night. So there's just like a few hints to it. One that I definitely didn't know was based on Romeo and Juliet, but then when you actually look at the plot, it's really obvious that it is based on Romeo and Juliet, and that's Warm Bodies, which is again kind of a teenage rom-com coming of age movie, only instead of the Montagues and the Capulets, you've got the zombies and the alive people. So it's quite a different take on the classic. So you've got like the zombie boy and the like human girl, and obviously it's similar, you know, the animosity between the two groups, the animosity between the Capulets and the Montagues versus the animosity between the zombies and the alive people. What do you call alive people? Humans? The living. There you go, the living. One of the main differences in this, I'm guessing, is that they've made the ending less tragic. I've seen Warm Bodies, but I think I saw it like passively in the background at a party. I don't think it's the kind of movie that I would be able to sit down and enjoy in the same way that I would enjoy the traditional story that is Romeo and Juliet. But as I'm sure the majority of people know, Romeo and Juliet is a tragedy in that the pair end up dead, and almost like no matter how many times I watch it or read it, you almost fool yourself into thinking that it's not going to end. Like maybe this time it'll be different, maybe they won't die, maybe they'll live happily ever after, but that's not really how books work, Áine, is it? Just deepening up the crease now with that grape shade, going over Tahiti, blends so nicely. Okay, so the next step that I'm going to do is I've got this ABH Nervina cake liner, these like neon shades. They are so cool. I'm going to use the yellow. Well, there's the pink, but I'm going to use the yellow in it, which I've already used a good bit, and it is awesome. So it's really different. It's kind of like face paint. You have to spray it with some water, but I just use setting spray. And then I have used an eyebrow brush for this because it is angled, and then you just dip it in. Okay, the next is a super famous musical called West Side Story, which I know has some die-hard fans out there now. Can you believe I've actually never seen West Side Story? But I'm pretty familiar with the plot. I know that it's been used like in a lot of secondary school plays and things like that. Again, it's the age-old tale of pitting two opposite groups against each other, only instead of Warm Bodies where you have the like alive people like the living and the zombies, and in Romeo and Juliet you've got the Capulets and the Montagues. Now we're talking about gangs in New York, and you've got a lot of commentary on like class and race and issues that are still prevalent today. So you can see that Shakespeare's work, some people say that they've aged really badly, but I don't think that's the case at all. You can always kind of shift them across. So the sexism that was experienced then, the sexism might be slightly different now, but we still have sexism. Again, the racism might have been slightly different then, but we still have racism now. We still have misogyny, we still have racism, we still have classism. The problems that we experience in the human condition are still similar. Like we're still falling in love with people we shouldn't be falling in love with. Okay, so that's my neon liner. Gonna pop on some mascara so that my lashes don't have weird neon stuff all over them. Right, number 5 is Simba's Pride, which is the Lion King Part 2. So Simba's Pride is based again on Romeo and Juliet. I did say that it's probably one of the most remastered, reinterpreted story of all time, and that's because love is complicated, I suppose, and we have all of these issues all the time, you know, falling for somebody that maybe your family doesn't like. Right, I'm gonna pop on some lashes. I'll be right back. Lashes are one, and I'm happy with them. Time to do lips. I'm going to pop on this Morphe Mini. So similar to Romeo and Juliet, we've got Simba and Nala, you know, the two wee baby cubs from the first movie that grow up and defeat Scar and all that. Well, they have a daughter called Kira, and she disobeys her dad's orders and goes to the Outlands, and there she meets Scar's son, and from there we have kind of the plot of Romeo and Juliet again. And that is my full face of makeup complete. Okay, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned something. We've got movies that are based kind of loosely and some very tightly on Shakespeare's plays. We had Romeo and Juliet, we had Twelfth Night, we've had Hamlet and The Taming of the Shrew. There is of course loads and loads of other movies that are based loosely on it, and TV shows like off. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a comment, like, subscribe. Please do subscribe if you have not. We're kind of getting closer and closer to 1,000. If you want to follow me on Instagram, where you can see lots and lots of pictures of both myself, behind the scenes, the makeup that I purchased, which is way too much, and also my extremely cute ragdoll cat called Peanut. That is makeup_and_metaphors. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and this look, I'm digging it, really digging it. And I'm going to clean out my hamster's cage with this full beat on. Thank you very much. I shall see you next week. Stay safe and read books and serve looks. Thank you.